I'm Nancy Showalter, and you're listening to Spirituality for the Politically Incorrect podcast. Welcome, all radical paradigm shifters and creative change makers. You who dare to create a better life and a better world. Tap into the power that resides within you and use that power for constructive change. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's episode, which is entitled Allow Your Success Now: 5 Simple Steps to Drop Your Bags and Start Your Journey. Our speaker today is George Carradini, a certified Law of Attraction life coach who's been in coaching and leadership positions for more than 30 years. And since 2010, George has logged over 1,000 hours of coaching in both group and individual settings. He's also the organizer of the 500-member Tulsa Law of Attraction meetup group. And he's here today to talk to us about Allow Your Success Now: 5 Simple Steps to Drop Your Bags and Start Your Journey, which is also the title of his forthcoming book. So, George, welcome. It's such a pleasure to have you here today.
Well, thank you, Nancy. It's my pleasure and an honor to be able to visit with you this morning about this topic. It's been the focus of my life for the last 4 years, and I'm really excited about it.
That's awesome. So, you mentioned allow your success now. So can you tell us, what exactly do you mean by allow?
Sure. Allow is not only dovetailing on one of the 7 universal laws of the law of detachment, or the law of allowing, but it's also an acronym that I've created. The A being for appreciation, the L for love, the second L for look or vision, the O for open or better, and then the W for work. Oftentimes with the law of attraction, people tend to leave the work part out and think that they can just attract it without actually any effort, a manual effort, so to speak, or physical effort. But since we live in a metaphysical world, which is both physical and spiritual, not only do we want to invoke the spiritual side with the law of attraction, we also want to invoke the physical side and efficiently use our gifts and our talents in our effort.
Great. Well, that's neat. I love your acronym. That's pretty cool.
Thank you.
So, how do you help someone raise their vibration up to appreciation?
Sure. When I start coaching with clients, one of the things that I've noticed as a pattern that continued over and over was it was easy for me to help people get up to appreciation. For those of you who aren't familiar, appreciation, love, thankfulness, empowerment, knowledge, those are the highest vibrations on the emotional guidance scale that's contained in the book Asking It Is Given by Esther and Jerry Hicks. And I knew it was hard, at least it was hard for me to jump right to love, but when I was coaching, it was easier for me to jump people up into appreciation by having them do a rampage of appreciation. And a rampage of appreciation is also a process in Asking It Is Given. In fact, it's process number 1. And basically you focus on an item that's in your immediate environment, in your room, in your study, in your outside if you're meditating, wherever, and you just focus on that for a minute, maybe to 70 seconds, and just focus all of your attention on that item and be thankful for it, for all the aspects of it that make you appreciate the item, maybe for its form, maybe for its function, its beauty, its color, its size, its shape, whatever. And as you focus on that item, it causes you to not pay attention to anything else around you, and you start to feel a little bit of a shift. And then after a minute, we do it again with a second item. Same thing, sole focus just on that second item. And then after the second time, we do it one more time. And usually by the end of 3 times, we're buzzing. You actually feel a physical vibration of appreciation. And I've done it in live workshops. I've done it in the meetup group. And I do it all the time on coaching calls with my clients as well.
That's great. Awesome technique. Well, you mentioned love. That's one of your 5 steps. Can you elaborate on that for us?
Sure, absolutely. The reason why I wanted to include love in the work that I do is when we boil it right down, the only things that are really real, the only thing that's real is love. According to Marianne Williamson in A Return to Love, there's love and then there's everything else that's an illusion. And so when we're walking in love, some have said that God is love. When we're walking with love, I believe we're walking with God. And when we're walking with God and we're connected to God, that's when the miracles happen. That's when out of the blue stories show up. That's when you're never going to believe what happened to me today stories show up. So I really like starting with appreciation and then moving over to love, both in thought but also in feeling, because love is also a separate physical vibration. It's close to appreciation, but it's fine-tuned and it's just a little different. And one of the ways that we can move from appreciation to love is I like using what's called the Book of Positive Aspects, where I just write down all the positive aspects about a person, or if it's a job situation, or if it's a city I'm going to, or if whatever the situation may be, if I just focus on what I appreciate about that individual or about that person or about that situation, I start to see changes in me. And when I see changes in me, I see changes in others. As Wayne Dyer says, when I change the way I look at things, the things I look at change. And I've seen that time and time again, both in my life, but also in the lives of those I coach.
Right. So why is look or vision important in an important step to success?
Vision's important because without a vision, my people perish, right? We've heard that said before. So if we don't have a plan, we plan to fail. And we've heard all those little sayings. But more importantly, if we don't know where we're going, we could very easily create our own Yogi Berra-ism, which is, I don't know where I'm going, but I'm getting there really quickly. When we have a path, to make a path, we have to know where the final destination is. We don't have to be fixated on the final destination, so to speak, because I'm finding out in my life and in others' lives that the journey is the destination, but we don't want to be meandering in the wilderness for 40 years either. So as we start to have a vision for the future, and I use future visioning for that, where I actually get in a meditative state with my client, and we meet our future selves. We meet our future selves in a place that's safe and loving, and we see ourselves the way we've always seen ourselves, in pure love. So not with the bags that we've accumulated along the way. We look at ourselves in a safe, loving place and see our ideal body. We see the confidence, the love, the joy, the peace that we've always wanted to experience. And as we do, we give ourselves a gift. And when we receive that gift, oftentimes it's a clue, or it's helpful for us to figure out what our purpose is and where our destination is. And surprisingly enough, the gift that I gave myself one day when I did this with a coaching client or a coaching buddy was I gave myself the word allow.
Oh, great. So that's awesome.
So that's how it comes full circle for me.
Yes. So George, can you give us an example of how you've brought someone from a lower vibration to appreciation and then to love?
Sure. And as I mentioned earlier, sometimes I use the Book of Positive Aspects after doing something like Rampage of Appreciation. But oftentimes what I'll do is ask somebody who's rehearsing to me things that are not going well. I'll say, okay, stop for a second. How do you feel right now? And oftentimes they'll say, well, I don't like how I feel right now. And I'll say, okay, so let's change the story. We don't need to hear about what's been going on and what's led up to this. How do you want to feel? Well, I want to feel joyful, or I want to feel secure, or I want to feel peace. Okay, so imagine yourself in that situation, or imagine yourself feeling that right now. What does that feel like? And slowly I can start to see changes. Oftentimes on a phone, I'll hear it in their voice. Face to face, I'll see their facial expression will actually change. Their body language will actually change. And I'll stop and I'll listen, and then I'll say, now look at yourself. How do you feel right now? And they'll say, well, this is amazing. I didn't realize that it was this simple. Many times I've had clients tell me that they've read the books for years, they've watched the videos for years, but they've never felt it the way they feel it when they go through a coaching session with somebody one-on-one. So that's one of the ways I do it. Another way that I'll do it is I'll have them start telling me things that they like about themselves, or things that they like about situations that they've been in, or rehearse to me what's the best experience that you've had so far in life. In other words, shift their focus to something that's going to make them feel good, to stop feeling the way they're feeling right now. And once we shift our focus, as we've heard, energy flows where our attention goes. So as we're looking at something in a positive light and remembering a good memory, we get two benefits from that. One, we get to pull up a nice memory, but secondly, we get to live it again, because our mind knows no time. So we can live it both in the past when it happened, but also we can experience those same feelings right now. And so I focus on asking my clients, how do you feel, and is this the way you want to feel? And if it's not the way they want to feel, then I work them through different scenarios to help them raise their vibration that way.
Great.
Make sense?
Yes, it does. And you bring up a good point about we can relive our memories.
Mm-hmm.
And it's really important for people to understand also that we can relive those negative ones, and then we're just giving more and more energy to it, just like you're saying, where our attention goes, energy flows. So it's pretty important to stay focused on the good memories as well as what we're creating in the future and our now.
Absolutely.
That's great. So, I'm curious, George, about your meetup. I mean, that's an amazing size, 500 people. Can you tell us a little bit about how you actually do coaching and work with your meetup group?
Sure. Almost 4 years ago now, when I was going through the coaching academy, I went online and I went to meetup.com, and I saw the very first meetup that popped up was the Tulsa Law of Attraction group. And I thought, whoa, because I wasn't even looking for that. I was joining Meetup for a different reason, and here Law of Attraction popped up. So that was on a Friday. So the following Monday evening, I went to the Meetup group, and with the intention of offering free coaching to anybody that was there, because at the time I needed to build up my coaching hours. Because like you, I was once a student in the QSEA, and I needed to build up my coaching hours. And so I figured that I could meet people who already knew about the Law of Attraction by going to a Law of Attraction meetup. Well, after attending, so from that point on, I went to every one that they had. If I was in town, and at that point I was in town a lot, I went to the meetup. Well, after about 6 or 7 months, I was asked if I would go ahead and take over as the organizer of the group. Because what had happened is the previous organizer had some scheduling changes and had some different life events in her life, and she was not there as often as she had been in the past. But she wanted to keep continuity with the group, and she didn't want to give the group away to somebody who wasn't going to nurture it. And I always looked at the group, and I still do, as not as my group. It's just a Law of Attraction group where we get together and share our experiences. So what I've done with the group is oftentimes I use it as just a group coaching, in the sense that we'll go around the room and we will share wins. I'll ask, what have you attracted recently? What is your name? How long have you been in the group? And what are you working on, or what did you attract recently that you'd like to share? And I did that for about 6-7 months. And then one day we didn't make the room in a circle, and there was a podium up front, and I stood there, and they're like, no, you stay up front. We want you to teach us something. And I thought, oh boy. So luckily I had a handout about something, and this is where I started talking about the book of positive aspects. I started talking about, I led them into future visioning because we were in a quiet environment. And I started leading in using different handouts that I've accumulated over the years, and some of which are going to be included in my book as appendices or as the back of the chapters. So what we've done now is we went from 2 meetings a month to every Wednesday, And then doing every Wednesday, people said, well, Wednesday's church night for me. Can you do Tuesday nights? And I said, okay, I can do a Tuesday night. So I added every other Tuesday night. And then I found out that we were able to get the same meeting space that we're in. So now we do it every Tuesday night and every Wednesday night. And then some people said, well, you should have a lunch group or a networking group where different small business owners can get together. So now we do Tuesday from 11:30 to 12:30. We do Tuesday evening, and we do Wednesday evening. And I'm working now on something like a hangout with you, where if I'm out of town, I can still Skype in, or I can still hang out in and be able to still host the meeting if they want me to host. But a really cool spin-off on all this is now we have people from the Meetup group who are also being trained to be Law of Attraction coaches through the QSCA. So now I have substitutes for me, and maybe I'm grooming somebody to take it for me at some point when I effect my life goal, which will be to be in Colorado in the mountains for 5-6 months out of the year, and then be back in Tulsa 5-6 months out of the year. So that's how we do it.
That's awesome. That's a good example of the law of attraction. It just kept coming to you and growing and
Absolutely.
Very successful.
And then another exciting aspect was I had planned workshops, and so now every other month on a Saturday I host a 4 to 5 hour workshop. And for this year I've used one chapter of my book. So my January workshop was an overview of all 5 chapters. My March workshop was appreciation. My May workshop, which we just had last month, was love. My July workshop is going to be look, or future visioning. Then in September we're going to do open, which is open to opportunities and or better. And then in November we'll do work. So that over a year cycle we will have done all 5 chapters. And then I'm making each of the chapters and the overview available as a DVD set if people want to purchase those.
That's great. So how many people show up in your meetup group each week? I mean, 500 total obviously probably don't show up.
No. We have between 20 and 30 people every meeting. And then even the workshops on a Saturday will have, in all 3 we've had 33, so it's 333. It's been pretty cool.
Yeah, that is. Well, George, what is the most important thing you'd like to leave with our viewers today?
The most important thing I'd like to leave is, how do you feel? How do you feel right now? That is the most important question to ask yourself, because the law of attraction doesn't respond just to what your thoughts are. Your thoughts create feelings in you, and it's the feelings that you send out, and it's the feelings that are responded to by the universe. So when you are sending out fear, you're receiving more things to be fearful about. When you're sending out love and joy, you're receiving more people, more circumstances, more opportunities that bring you love and joy. So the most important takeaway is the law of attraction responds to vibrations. Thoughts are vibrations, but feelings are even stronger vibrations than thoughts. In fact, they're about 5,000 times stronger. That's 5,000 times stronger. So stay on top of your feelings. If you don't like how you're feeling, change what you're feeling by what you're thinking about.
So, George, thank you so much for your take on the law of attraction and hearing about your 5 steps. Really appreciate you being here today, and I love your heart connection with everyone and all that you're doing.
Yes, it's been my pleasure. Thank you, Nancy, and I love what you're doing here. It's wonderful. Thank you so much.
Well, you are welcome, and thank you so much, and thank you, everybody, and we will see you next time. Thank you for being with me today, and if you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe, download, and comment. I'd love to hear from you, and your support is much appreciated. And don't forget, go to nancyshowalter.com to get your free electronic copy of my book, It's Okay to Be Rich, The Entrepreneur's Guide to Increased Wealth and Personal Mastery, endorsed by T. Harv Eker. And my free mini course, How to Speak Your Success, the shocking truth of how your words impact achieving your goals. I'll see you next week.